Right, welcome back to the Young Fan Podcast and welcome to this match reaction for Oxford United as we travel to Portsmouth on this Tuesday night and come away with a 1-1 draw in Sky Bet League One. I certainly did not see that one coming. A really, really good point, more than anything most Oxford United fans thought we'd get from this game, and it arguably could have been better for Oxford tonight. We had more chances in that first half. We were really, really quite good. So well organised, so well drilled, in really good shape. And I've been really honest about Karl Robinson. I've been really honest about some of the players, individuals, but most importantly, the bad start to the season. We haven't looked very good going forward. Defensively, we've actually got worse as the season has progressed. We've looked quite sloppy. We haven't dominated games as well as we should be, and as well as Oxford United demand really under Karl Robinson. We like to try and dominate the game and win that midfield battle. And in recent games and since the start of the season, we haven't been able to do that. In that first half, we won the midfield battle. It's a cliche saying in football, the game, or most games, are won and lost in that midfield. I thought Marcus McGuane, Cameron Brannigan and Billy Bowden, who did get sent off, will come on to that decision and come on to how that did affect the game negatively in the second half. I thought those three worked really, really well. O'Donker came into the side up front and provided us something a little bit different. Matty Taylor suspended for the right reasons. It shouldn't have, it should have been a red card, and we overturned or tried to get it to be overturned. It was never going to happen. It's quite a silly thing for Oxford to do. Sort of screamed of desperation and screamed of the fact that we are clearly limited in numbers, especially in those attacking areas. But O'Donker, he got the nod. He got an opportunity to express himself, the young forward, and he gave us something a little bit different. He's a physical player. He's somebody that can play with his back to goal. And he actually played a really big part in the goal that occurred in the first half. And we'll come on to Joseph and his really, really good finish and a wonderful strike. But, these different players, and like I say, coming back to that midfield battle, we really did win it. And we looked really, really strong. And the spine of the squad and the spine of that team looked really, really good. We forced Portsmouth to sort of play a different style of play. We forced Portsmouth to go quite direct, and that isn't the way they want to play. They want to sort of play through the back and actually play through the midfield and try and unleash the likes of Owen Dale, Curtis, Karoma, who came on. These different wide players, Dane Scarlett and Colby Bishop, are also a brilliant centre-forward partnership, and they want to get those players into the game as much as they can. And what Oxford needed to do, which was never going to be easy and was going to be the real challenge, was stop those players from getting any type of rhythm or momentum across the 90. And for the most part, and as like I say, specifically and especially in that first 45, we did that really, really well. Oxford, once again, ran their socks off, and you can never, so far this season, fault the determination and the resilience of those players. It was visible once again tonight. And, I've been very critical of Oxford United in their performances at the start of the season and Karl Robinson and the way that the side hasn't been up to scratch. And, Robinson himself has come out in recent weeks and said, look, the performances and the results are nowhere near where they need to be. And Oxford really did need to dig deep at difficult moments in that game. That wasn't first try with braces. That's a challenge. Try and say it quickly. Effort wasn't a problem. It hasn't been since the start of the season. We've been really, really good at providing high levels of hard work week in, week out. But we've been missing that bit of quality, that bit of spark, and that bit of magic. Karl Joseph's goal was all three of those things. And I'm not going to be a stubborn football fan who goes, I haven't been totally convinced by Karl Joseph since he joined the club. He's been playing out of position. I think he's still trying to exactly work out, being quite a young lad, exactly what type of striker, what type of player he is. Is he a wide forward? Is he a centre forward? I don't think anyone's entirely sure. But that was a brilliant, brilliant strike. And fair play to him. It was a pivotal goal. It proved huge in the game. And the technique that he used was sensational. A wonderful, wonderful hit, and fair play to him. Absolutely fair play to him. Hopefully that kickstarts a really good striking run for him, but also it kickstarts the season and a good run for Oxford as a team, because they can be moments where you go, wow, that could be a real kickstart. Unfortunately, it wasn't the winning goal. At the time, it did put Oxford in front, but that was huge, and he deserves it, because you can't doubt hard work. I've always said with Karl Joseph as well, as an individual, his hard work, his ability to press and never give up is always there. He always presses, he always tries and gets that defender in a press, and he goes man for man at times, and he does a really good job of doing that. Is he lacking a bit of technical ability? I think he is, and he's still quite raw, but it will come. And I was really impressed with him tonight. It was a real standout. We took our foot off the gas after going 1-0 up, and that's the frustration for me. That is a bit of a frustration. We looked nervous, and we sort of started to throw away control of the game. And going 1-0 up, away from home against Portsmouth, we know the difficulty of that ground, and we know how good Portsmouth are in terms of a team and individuals. I think maybe the Oxford United players got a little bit swallowed up by that. Look at the recent run by Oxford and the winless run that unfortunately does continue after only drawing this game. But you look at the recent performances, they haven't been amazing, and the results especially haven't been good at all. And you look at the league position, I think psychologically that probably would play a part on a player. Knowing you're going 1-0 up, you do naturally try and sit back and you sort of maybe sit your position 5 yards, 10 yards a little bit deeper, and you sort of accidentally, or maybe not accidentally, but I think you sort of subconsciously sort of provide that ability for them to sort of throw a bit of pressure at you, and that can be really dangerous. I think Portsmouth sort of smelt a little bit of blood, especially in that second half. We lost control after that red card even more. It was a stupid red card, on a yellow card. People have been saying that first yellow card wasn't a yellow, and I don't think it was. It looked fairly soft, especially when you sort of compare it to the other incidents and bookings and challenges that happened across the 90. But when you do get booked, don't make that second challenge, Billy Bowden. It's absolutely stupid to do that. You always know you're going to get booked. If the first one's a yellow, that second one is no doubt a yellow. And 2 yellows is a red card. You go down 10 men, and that changes the game. It makes it even harder for Oxford United to continue with that bit of control. And I think under Karl Robinson, the brilliant match reaction by Ian Allen, who's a really good Oxford United sort of match reaction content creator. And he summarised it brilliantly. He said, I think under Karl Robinson, since he really joined the football club, when going 1-0 up, we have been sort of struggling to sort of deal with going 1-0 up and sort of go again and sort of try and get another wave of attack and try and double the lead and put even more pressure in a winning position. Sort of add that sort of psychological barrier anyway, plus the fact that we haven't been in great form and we're leading a game surprisingly, that is going to make even more of a difference. I think it did make a bit more of a difference tonight. Why make that change on a yellow card? It just is stupid. It makes it even harder for Oxford to hold on in the game. And it wasn't sort of early, it wasn't late on in the game. I'll try and find the exact time for the red card. It's presume about on the hour mark, maybe even before that. It's a little bit later than I thought, 72nd minute, but that's still 20 plus injury time. That is still, excuse me, it still is about half an hour. So, it's half an hour to go. That's a long time. Being an away side, Portsmouth are going to keep knocking on the door. They may substitute. They brought on Owen Dale. They brought on Karoma, 2 brilliant wide players full of attacking spark, pace. They're going to provide that bit of that pace and that real attacking quality. It's not going to be easy. It's not going to be easy whatsoever. And sort of playing with one man down, that's going to make it even more of a difficult challenge. Did the game plan work? Yes. Does Karl Robinson deserve credit for the game plan? Absolutely. Is it sustainable? Is it a game plan that can be used in the future? And is it going to get to where we want to get to? Probably not. I'm being honest, it probably won't. It wasn't a great football match. We didn't play very good football. But in a circumstance like this, I don't think it really matters, because the most important thing is we come away from the game with a really quite unexpected point on the board. And sometimes you have got to play the dark arts and you have got a time waste come the end of the game, and it is frustrating. Teams do it against us all of the time, and it does work all of the time. But it's the games where you at home against, let's say, Peterborough last week, certainly against Bristol Rovers, against Morecambe. These are games that we've dropped points already this season. You can't play like that against them. You've got to try and play a lot of football against them and try and dominate the game and try and be sort of wave after wave in terms of attack. We did have other chances in the game, and in terms of the fact that we were controlling it, like I said in the first half, some would say it could have been even better. It was certainly quite a proud performance, a really quite proud performance, and Portsmouth were not at their best, but controversially, and I'll say controversially with quite a lot of emphasis, they do equalise. I thought Pompey were a side that could probably do a little bit better in terms of the way that they could cause damage with the game plan that we were playing. I thought they probably have the quality to go and draw and certainly win the game going into it. During the game, it's a point fair. I normally would sort of wait until the end to make that sort of decision, but I was frustrated come the end of the game, which sounds mental considering going 1-0 up and getting a point from a match that we certainly did not think that we're going to get anything from. But it's one of those in football matches where you go 1-0 up, you can see to make it 1-1 quite late on in the game, sort of post 70-odd minute, and you then you are still naturally quite frustrated and quite disappointed. Well, not frustrated, but disappointed. I'm not frustrated because the hard work and the effort was there, and I'm a little bit frustrated by the fact the goal stood. I've watched it back. It is a handball. It is handball. I mean, it's very, very close if it's not handball, but it does look like a handball. He controls it with sort of this part of his body. Is it sort of? It looks like it's up here, and for me, that is handball. It is his arm, and we've seen the letter of the law suggests that the arm is still handball. And it might be even a bit lower than that. It might even, it's quite difficult to see. And again, we can't really. It doesn't really matter now that they score and the goal stand. There's no VAR, so that's the way it is. It's controversial. It certainly is. Whatever people say, Portsmouth fans, Oxford fans, give me your thoughts. It does seem very tight, very close in sort of slow motion. It does look like handball, but I don't like making these sort of calls and decisions because the referees are referees. They're going to make the call, and he gives the goal. Players, manager for Oxford certainly thought it was a handball, but they always would. I don't know. I'd have to watch it back again. They do make it 1-1. And there is an element of disappointment there because you're winning the game. But in hindsight, it's a brilliant point. And, you just take it and you move on to the next one. You've got to use it as a springboard. We said it against Exeter. You have to use it as a springboard and as a huge piece of confidence to go and get a result against Bolton away from home, which is going to be not even harder, and that's disrespectful towards Portsmouth, but certainly to the level of Portsmouth in terms of difficulty. Another side really aiming to be in that top six, another side that have been performing at a really good level for a lot of the season and picked up some really good results with brilliant individual players. So yeah, it's going to be interesting to see how we get on. Our squad is absolutely depleted now. With injuries, it's decimated with injuries, and Karl Robinson, we're going to come on to his post-match interview because it was quite weird, a really emotional interview. He sort of had tears in his eyes talking to the in-house media, that is, to Oxford United's in-house media and communication department. It was a really strange interview. It's on Twitter, and you can listen to the interview on Twitter. I think you can watch the full interview on iFollow. I only watched the sort of the Twitter segment that got released. It's quite a bizarre interview that he did. I expected quite an upbeat interview full of sort of pride and passion and positives because you get a point away from home against Portsmouth, use it as a real positive, take it to Bolton, and it was going to be full of this sort of excitement, but also understand we draw the game, and with quite controversial decisions in the match, you would be a little bit annoyed. But I expected something very different to what we got. We got repeats of it's hard. I actually love this football club. These are direct quotes, by the way. I actually love the football club. I love the players. It's hard at the moment, almost biting his lip and sort of shaking his voice as he said that. And I'm no psychological expert. I'm no expert when it comes to body language and the way that people speak. But it just seemed quite strange. And I hope that Karl Robinson is okay. He seemed a little bit sort of mentally and emotionally exhausted. I don't want to put these feelings and thoughts into the words, into the actions of Karl Robinson when he hasn't said that sort of thing. So that would be, I don't want to go too far down that road. But looking at it from a pure football post-match interview, some of the things he was saying were a little bit bizarre. We're decimated by players, which is true. Brown came off injured. Brannigan looked like he was struggling. But either way, I do think Oxford United manager Karl Robinson and the players should walk away from this game with a high level of pride, because not many people, including myself, thought they'd get anything from this match, and they proved they certainly can. There's positives, there are some negatives, but let's take it into the game against Bolton. Let's try and give Bolton a really, really challenging game. We're missing some big players. We're missing some really, really influential players through injury, through suspension, through whatever. But use this now as that confidence boost, and that's all we can ask. That's all we can ask at this point. Who knows what the future holds for Oxford? It doesn't paper over the cracks of what has been a bad start to the season, a really quite bad start to the season. The result doesn't push us any higher really up in the league table. We're still just outside the relegation zone. We're 20th on the table, but it's a point that I keep saying, I've repeated it throughout, not many people thought we'd get. And we did. So that's what Oxford United players should be really, really proud of, and Karl Robinson himself and his coaching staff. Fair play. Let's move on to the next one against Bolton. This has been my match reaction for Oxford against Portsmouth. Portsmouth's 4-0 written all over it, Tom. I know you're hopefully watching this now. Fair play. We can agree on a draw. Not what I thought we'd be getting. I thought you'd be the happier of the two fans. But fair play to you. Fair play to Portsmouth. Not at their best, but in the end, they'll be happy really with the point, considering they were 1-0 down for quite a lot of the game. Let's move on. I've been Jack. This has been the Unfan Podcast. Take care. Stay safe. I'm tired. It's nearly 1:15 in the morning. You're watching this in the morning. This is really late on now, Wednesday morning. But yeah, let's see what happens. Take care, and yeah, see you in a bit.